Well, we mentioned the situation in Iraq. The reality is things are getting worse. ISIS rebels continue to fight and take more cities. They're now marching towards Baghdad. The big question, of course, what should the international community do to try and contain the crisis? We can tell you reports suggest as many as 100 U.S. Marines are already in Iraq looking to protect the U.S. Embassy and other U.S. interests. Joining us right now, let's bring in our news panel. Michele Zilio is joining us. She's with iPolitics. She's in our Ottawa studios. Also joining us, Wayne Spear. He's with the Huffington Post, a contributor there, and he is joining us from Toronto. Good to see you both.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, it's really troubling when we hear, Wayne and Michele, that it's getting more serious, right? More and more cities are falling because of ISIS and their advances. And we're also hearing about what the response might be from the U.S. The U.S. and the U.K. Apparently, they're working together, working on some sort of plan to potentially launch airstrikes against ISIS. And as well, they're engaging Iran. There's discussions there. Who saw that coming, Wayne? The fact that Iran, the United States, and the UK may all be engaging together?
Well, a lot of people certainly were saying that the danger in Iraq was always going to be a civil war. It's a country which now has a constitution, a pluralistic constitution. It was never given a chance. Maliki early on started to conduct purges against elected officials in his government. And the Obama administration said, I'm sorry, but it's politically inexpedient and unpopular of me to stick around, so good luck to you. And at that time in 2011, this was said that this is going to be the end game of that decision. And I think that point of view is now being shown to be correct.
Right, so now we see the fallout of that. But, you know, looking ahead now, if there are airstrikes, it seems ISIS is already warning, taunting the United States, Michele, you know, saying, come and get us, we're ready, we're waiting for you. How might ISIS retaliate if there's airstrikes? We're hearing about trained terrorists that they've had, perhaps in reserve, waiting to unleash those individuals to maybe launch another 9/11 style attack somewhere. I mean, is this possible?
I have no idea what's up their sleeves at this point. I think this was obviously the situation in Iraq was on a lot of people's radars, and we're watching it closely. But this did happen rather suddenly, the capture of these northwestern cities. So what's coming next, I don't know. In terms of this is where the U.S. has to be careful how they retaliate. The U.S. in particular, because of that, you know, conflicting relationship with Iraq. And you know, we've said, Obama has said at this point, airstrikes are a possibility. He's ruled out putting troops back on the ground. I think it can be said that the last mission was controversial, to say the least, and I don't think there's much interest to put American troops back on the ground. So at this point, it's just walking a fine line and trying to ensure stability for the Iraqi government and the Iraqi people, while at the same time protecting U.S. interests, because they don't want to tick off the wrong group of individuals here.
Yeah, so we'll see. Apparently an ISIS cell in Spain, several people under arrest there. We're hearing that ISIS may be recruiting Saudi men over Twitter and YouTube. So we keep watching to see where it does go. Want to talk about a story closer to home, though. As you know, a decision expected, we think, by midnight tomorrow regarding Northern Gateway, Wayne. And any surprise decision, or is this thing going to get the go-ahead and, you know, there's no mystery to this? What do you think?
Well, you can put me, I'm sorry, I'm stuffed up here today,
okay.
but you can put me in the no surprise camp, because I think the government, I get email regularly. I'm on some email list of glowing propaganda from the government on this issue. I've been writing on this. I'm planning a book, actually. My thesis is that whatever toxicity there might be to the environment, there's also political toxicity to this. It's been set up as a zero-sum game where critics and detractors and dissenters are treated as potentially as criminals, and we already know that the government is scanning emails and there's going to be drones in the sky. As we go ahead in the future, I think we're kind of setting things up to have clashes which could get ugly, and when it does happen again, there will be those who say this could have been handled better.
Yeah, okay, well, Michele, I'll get you to comment on that. We do see that even some Canadians, 29% in BC, apparently say they favor approval of the project, of the Northern Gateway. Others, you know, just the same percentage say no, they don't like it. So how will the government appeal or appease that contingent that says this is not a good thing? There are environmental concerns.
Well, there's those 209 conditions that are alleged or that are reportedly within the National Energy Board's report. So they're going to have to somehow show that they are going to, abide by those conditions to satisfy those Aboriginal and environmental groups that have expressed concern about this. Obviously, pipelines are a hot topic right now. If Enbridge goes through, and it's sounding like it will, the Northern Gateway pipeline this week, tomorrow most likely, it's just one more thing that's going to tick off these groups that are environmental groups and Aboriginal groups that are opposed to it. The next question, I guess, looking forward is what happens with TransCanada. That's not in our control, of course, at this point. It's within the U.S. Secretary of State's control. But the government, it sounds like it's going to go ahead. That's kind of what we're hearing, behind me on the hill here.
Right.
So it's just a matter of time, and how well they address those conditions that are outlined in that report.
Okay, I want to also get your opinion. This on a story in Alberta, and you may have heard of this 12-year-old transgender boy. He's now been given a brand new birth certificate, one that shows he is male, and this after the family took the issue before the Human Rights Commission. Any concerns here? Some would flag, Wayne, that, this is a 12-year-old. We know the brain's not fully developed till the age of 21. Is that, the bottom line, or is it all about what the family knows to be true based on their experience with their own child? Is this the right way to go?
Well, unless I'm mistaken, I think we actually I believe we had a story like this not too long ago, or at least I read one, and it was an even younger child. And they say now that at as early as 5 years of age, that children just know that they're a boy, whatever their biology might be saying. But if you go back even 10 years ago and you look at public attitudes, we've come a long way, and I think this is actually quite an encouraging story. The Charles McVitie's and the Rob Anders are losing, the people who try and whip up fear around this, and they're losing, and I couldn't be happier.
Okay, Michele, anything that you would flag that stands out of concern for you, or do you think this is the right way to go? If this is especially what the child seems to be telling mom and dad and everyone around them.
I think at this point, this is obviously a discussion that's been had in Alberta. It's been had in a number of other provinces. Human Rights Tribunal ruled in favor of someone in 2012, allowing them to change their sex, but obviously their gender. But obviously here the question is the age of the child. And I think if the involvement of a physician is included here, and that doctors had discussions with the child extensively, and there's been some evaluation of the child's mental state, and how long they've been considering changing their gender identity on their birth certificate, then with a physician's oversight, this probably sounds like this is the direction it could go. And it's something the Alberta environment or the Alberta government is endorsing. The culture minister for the province actually presented the new birth certificate to this 12-year-old boy in Edmonton at the Pride Parade on the weekend, which is it's lovely. That's encouraging. So it's good to see that. We're likely going to hear
more of these stories and challenges as well as we move forward. We want to thank both of you, Michele, Wayne. Good to see you, and thanks for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.